Ahoy and welcome to Rise's Call, everybody. My name is Derek Sword. I'm very happy to have you all here, even though it's kind of imaginary because this is pre-recorded. But hey, in spirit, you're a time traveler of sorts, looking into the past as I look to you in the future. It makes sense somehow. I'm joined by the very wonderful Kaila for the special episode, the one-on-one session, the character development session of Scarlett. So I'm going to have Kaila introduce herself, say a little bit about her character. But again, my name is Derek. I am your GM. I am your guiding compass on as we travel, or as we navigate the treacherous seas of Damaris. I use he/him pronouns. If you want to support this channel, if you want to support this cast especially, you can always do so through Pally. Again, this is a pre-recorded episode, so anything you donate during the stream is very much appreciated. We'll kind of be paid forward to whatever the next stream is. It really won't impact this because that's not how time works. But yes, anything that you're able to donate is very much appreciated. And I promise, if it is a black spot, I will certainly use it the next time that Scarlett is actually playing live. I assure you. Yeah. That all said, we'll get to other show stuff later, but I'm very excited to do this. This is our second in the series. And yeah, Kaila, won't you introduce yourself and your character?
Hi, hello. I'm Kaila. Use she, her pronouns. And your Saturday lottery numbers are as such. Doesn't work that way.
No, I was excited. I was about to write them down.
Hi, hello. I play our Siren Warlock Scarlett Shores. Also uses she, her pronouns. The captain of the Bloodhound and the owner of the Redemption. She technically owns 2 ships.
She does.
She almost has a fleet to herself.
Almost. Well, plus those keel boats as well. Yeah, if you count those as part of
those don't really belong to her.
She is an up and coming Commodore for sure. Yeah.
Add it to the resume.
Mm-hmm. And yes, we are very much. If you watch the Proximus prequel, where we kind of went back in time, we're not really going to do that so much with Scarlett. Scarlett has enough trauma, I should say, that we don't really have to go back in time with that. She's carrying it with her at all times. Also, to the point of trauma, at the time of recording, it is 6:20-ish p.m. Pacific daylight time in the Pacific Northwest on July 3rd. Yes, July 3rd. So there will be fireworks. You will likely hear them. We are both very rural. Well, I am a rural person. Kaila at least has a decent studio and everything. You will still hear booms. Just imagine them as the thunderous reverberations of Scarlett's trauma, and now it's actually in scene. Perfect. Well, let's set up the scene here. So, Scarlett, I have to imagine that a big part of Scarlett's days, every single day, or rather night, to set it up better, because Scarlett doesn't sleep, kind of has that as part of her eldritch pact. So I have to imagine, especially on a ship that is more often than not constantly in motion, and we will pick up at one of those long stretches, perhaps one of the long stretches before Scarlett reached Fall Line Row, where the Bloodhound is pretty quiet in the evening. You're still traveling. There's still a skeleton crew, again, not literal because this is fantasy, but there still are some sailors who are, making sure that the ship doesn't sink in the middle of the night. But still sitting alone in your captain's quarters, maybe a single lantern lighting the space, away from your friends, your companions, your original ship, can be quiet. It can be maybe lonely. What are some of the thoughts that come to Scarlett in those quiet moments in the night?
I think ones that constantly play are how to keep going, both mentally, physically, crew-wise, boat-wise. That's a very loaded, heavy question.
Yeah.
It's not just a single faceted thing. How to, I guess, navigate the patron, she is somewhere in between finding herself and also losing everything. Because Scarlett very much knows that if she goes after what she wants, it's not going to end well for her, just because the looming shadow behind her that is giving her power, that is making her able to do these things and to protect the people that she actually cares about. Something that she stayed away from doing due to Eula. She didn't form attachments. When she did form an attachment, it ended poorly. And she thought, well, maybe Eula's gone. Maybe it's safe now. But it is not.
So, when you talk about the things she wants most, is it that attachment to other people to make them more permanent or stronger, perhaps? And it's the thought of them being used as leverage against you.
Definitely. There's definitely that the desire is there. The desire to always belong and to have people has always been a number one on Scarlett's list. But there's always been something that has kept her reserved, held her back, shackled her to isolation.
Play off with that a little bit. Scarlett has always kind of been an isolated person. Again, you mentioned in Eula's service, it was a necessity. It was a form of survival. Much like some animals develop camouflage, Scarlett developed an antisocial personality.
She developed resting bitch face.
Yeah, it didn't come naturally, surprisingly. But I think even before that, and again, Scarlett doesn't sleep. She doesn't dream, but I can't help but imagine that somebody who stays up every single night doesn't find themselves just consumed by those memories. As somebody personally who, when I lie down in a dark space, a quiet dark space, have the memory, like some bad memories just creep into my head. It's just how some people work, and I can't imagine that Scarlett is not like that. And I have to imagine that Scarlett, you get some memories, vague though some of them might be. I'm curious what Scarlett's earliest memory is.
Earliest memory.
Does she have memories of her merfolk family?
Probably vague shadows. Doesn't remember exact location. Doesn't remember exactly what faces look like. Barely just a glimmer of thought of, I used to be here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so muddled from everything else. It's just very distant. She keeps trying to grasp out to it, but she cannot lay her fingers on that memory.
Do you remember losing them?
Remember the force of being separated. Almost like a what's it called? Riptide.
Yeah.
There was a force outside of her own and outside of her family's that ripped them apart.
Something pulling you apart, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of color, lots of sound, perhaps even during a storm. So, again, one of the first maybe formed memories might have been Scarlett on her own.
Mm-hmm.
But she spent several years over it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
She was alone, wandering, fending for herself for a little while before she got caught in the nets of one of Eula's ships.
What did those years look like for Scarlett? Did she? I have to also imagine that maybe Scarlett. Well, actually, let me ask you instead of imagining. Is Scarlett a name that she knew, a name that she gave herself, a name that Eula gave her, because of maybe her hair? Where did the name Scarlett come from?
Scarlett is a name that she gave herself, I want to say a few weeks after landing on Eula's island. It was she just didn't have a name. Just kind of went by whatever. Girl, siren, you. until she realized that she needed a name to make a name. So she did.
So in those years, this nameless young girl moving through the oceans, how did she survive? Did she hunt? Did she steal? Did she attack fishing boats? What did that look like?
My initial response was pure spite.
Pure spite is absolutely a motivator.
I'm sure there was hesitation to get close enough to steal things, but out of necessity, probably in the depths of night, undercover from shadows, stole what needed to be stolen. Hunted.
Especially if she's being called you, siren, girl. Those are things that people shout at you.
Yeah. Definitely not not gonna stick around long to face consequences type of deal. But will take only necessary to survive. And it was just constant wander. There was no staying in one spot for too long. That's how people find you. That is how you become a target. You keep moving.
So years on your own. Maybe other sea life, but no formed connections. Maybe you saw sea elves or Sahuagin or merfolk, but especially if you ever saw merfolk actively avoiding you. This girl who had storms behind her eyes.
Yeah, no one wants to be friends with the chaos. Too scared.
And again, that builds that isolation until eventually you were caught in some fishing nets and brought aboard the infamous Black Fen and met who maybe you believed was a friend or a savior of sorts. This kind, smiling, blue-skinned woman.
I'm sure there were good thoughts at first. Thoughts of sanctuary, thoughts of safety, thoughts of belonging. Did not take long for that facade to kind of crumble. The Fen was not what I was led to believe it was. But at the same time, it was the only place that was accepting of me, that was putting me, I don't want to say on a pedestal, because that seems not super like something Eula would do.
Maybe it gave you purpose.
Yeah, it gave me two legs to stand on. Haha.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like the Fen that Eula, well, very much Eula was a bad relationship. Eula was an abusive parent, and it can be really hard to leave those scenarios.
I was only
enough.
as good as I was useful.
Yeah, very much like you were caught in nets when she found you. She never really let you out of that trap.
No.
Wasn't all bad though. There was Corvus. Eventually.
After 8 years?
About 8 years.
8 years? 9 years?
So yeah, you would have probably known Corvus's predecessor, much more stern individual, I think, much larger than Corvus.
Didn't take any of Scarlett's shit, I'm sure.
I don't think he cared much about Scarlett. And I think that's when, it was all about duty. And when Corvus showed up, this individual who I think Scarlett could tell right off the bat didn't really want to be there. And had this underlying refusal of authority. That had to be a little appealing.
A little. The thoughts that I would never allow myself to think were there personified. Rejecting authority, rejecting Eula.
And then when you met this naive person who also shared similar thoughts, rejection of the Queen Mother, rejection of the things that he was asked to do. Perhaps there was a bit of a kindred spirit there. We've explored a little bit of Scarlett and Corvus. I'm curious what perhaps in Scarlett's mind, what the beginning of their relationship was. This relationship that they had to keep secret for so long. What was in her mind the first moment where she stopped thinking of, oh, this is just, another blue-headed blockhead arbiter, champion, bodyguard, whatever he wants to call himself. This isn't just, your average fish himbo. Fishbow. Nope. It's there. I'll find it.
This one's got a personality.
Yeah, well, this one, has a personality, can think for himself, and also maybe thinks a little bit like me. When was maybe the first time that she had that thought?
I'm sure most people, when they're like, oh, I knew at this moment when they gave me butterflies and made me feel warm and fuzzy. I feel like that is not the case with these two. I feel like it was very much a sarcasm off sort of deal. And Corvus eventually just didn't take Scarlett's act. Didn't accept that as this isn't you. He saw right through her, I don't want to say tough gal act, but definitely was just like, you're not actually a bitch.
Chipped away that exterior ice. Yeah. Maybe there was a day when he found you in the Tavern of the Fen, just complimented your hair, and then Nigel, his little crab familiar, scuttled over and went, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to give you crepes, and pulled that back, not understanding the joke.
Just can imagine just the wide-eyed look of, what?
He's a crab. His name is Nigel. Steep.
Waiting for Allie to come in, just smashing.
Smash. And we saw how all that ended, so we don't have to replay that.
Unfortunately, we saw how all of that ended.
Because it did end. And for maybe a good reason, it didn't end how Scarlett had always thought. I don't know if that's a silver lining to that cloud or not. That's a pretty big,
I feel like that's more of a double-edged sword.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not any better that Scarlett didn't do it. He's still gone.
It's not quite worse, because she'd given herself that at least I did it.
And you held on to Corvus. I think you might still hold on to Corvus. At least that stone with his name on it. At least those memories of him, memories that you'll always have.
They are some of the only good ones that she does have. Sneaking around on the Fen, even though I feel like there's no real sneaking around on the Fen, considering the whole thing was Eula. But alas.
Surprisingly enough, you literally can't have eyes everywhere. If you stand on the butt of an octopus, it's not going to look at its own butt,
Knight sneaking around, sneaking off onto ships while they're unloading or docking up.
Mm-hmm.
Small moments away from what was real life for them.
And that hope that someday they'd both be able to escape, but that wasn't what the fates decided.
No. And Scarlett will always hold a grudge against the fates for that.
Scarlett's changed a lot over those years, from this adrift orphan to this spy assassin for a god queen, to a star-crossed lover, to a vengeful avatar of an eldritch being. Captain again. What is Scarlett like? If Scarlett was going to give herself if she was going to describe herself in a sentence, like, I am Scarlett, I am what would she say?
I am Scarlett Shores, and I am a lost soul. And she does not believe in titles. While she is the captain of the Bloodhound, it still feels like she is captain out of necessity. Because this is a ship that they stole. That they took away from this captain that Proximus killed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Who himself had killed his previous captain.
She didn't know the crew and Marcus when they took the ship. She couldn't just say, yeah, here you go, we're just gonna ride along for a little while. Out of necessity, she took control of the ship because they needed it. They needed the crew, they needed the space. They needed to have a warship, essentially. Seeing as how the Empire was launching some sort of ploy, some sort of plan, that they still have no idea what's going on. They just know that this warship full of not the Empire's finest recruits came to attack them, because this is now a vendetta against the crew sort of deal. I mean, we've really fucked them over that one time. Actually, it's been several times, but who's keeping count?
Right.
We sank a whole prison.
So it's about this point in the middle of the night. You're not really sure how late it possibly is in these captain's quarters. I do have to ask, where does Scarlett spend her evening? So you do have a bed, you do have, a table, you have a desk, you have plenty of places to sit, stand, whatever. Where does Scarlett kind of post up for the nights, or is there a lot of pacing? Does she read? What kind of activities, if any, does she do?
I think it definitely depends on the mood. Like, if things are a little more relaxed, could definitely find her laying about in the bed with the blankets, kind of just hanging out, cozy. Maybe, a glass of the ship's finest alcohol of the choosing from whatever port they were just in. Nights that are a little more high-strung, or Scarlett, since she has done something wrong. We all have that little anxiety voice in the back of your head. You could have said this better. You could have done this better. This person doesn't like you because they acted in this particular way. That night looks more like pacing. But the nights of dwelling on long, I don't want to say forgotten memories, but long ago memories, are probably sitting at the desk with the one singular lantern.
The lantern flickers slightly. Again, you have the creaking of the ship around you. One of the windows is open. You get that kind of sweet, salty, tropical air coming through as you all are traveling in the tropics themselves. And you hear a knock at the door.
I'll get up and answer.
And
letting known by scraping the chair across the wooden floor of just the slight irritation of being interrupted.
And as you open the door to your captain's quarters, there is your first mate. Even at night, with the lanterns around the ship all illuminated, he gives off a soft glow as a fire genasi from his hair, his eyes, almost like charcoal in his beard. And he is standing there with a bottle of liquor in one hand and a game board in the other, in his first mate outfit, this longer coat with a little bit of accents of different pieces of armor that he's picked up from all over, this mismatched individual with his scimitar at his side. And he smiles softly and says, Miss, I was having trouble sleeping. I know that you don't sleep, trouble or not. And I was wondering if I might be able to provide you with some company while these hours seem to while themselves away.
I won't say anything. I'll just do a quick look up and down. Kind of look outside the door frame. Out onto whatever is out there. Is it a hallway?
So the captain's quarters kind of opens up directly into the mid deck.
Into the deck.
So,
okay, so I'm thinking correctly.
Yeah, so you have the like the steerage is right above you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the not focusal. Actually, it might be the focusal. It's either that one or the one from the other end. I don't have my my ship map in front of me.
The anatomy of a ship. I'm gonna get you a poster.
I need one. I need one like right there, so I don't have to ever think about it.
Okay, but it opens up onto the deck.
It does.
I will take a peek to make sure there is no peering eyes. And if there is no one, I will step aside and let Marcus enter.
It's the quarter deck. Yes, no peering eyes. Again, you probably have somebody at the helm. There are probably fewer than 5 people who man the night shift. There are warning bells, there are alarm bells to wake everybody else up below deck, but you can tell, I'd say you can probably tell by the stars in the sky at this point, and the way the light has long since left the horizon. These are probably the witching hours that you are in. And he'll step inside and kind of just, he takes a look around and kind of, you see him breathe in a little bit. I have to admit, miss, it smells infinitely better in here since the last captain. Something I very much appreciate.
Let's be real, the last captain was a mongrel? That's a good word.
A wonderful word, in fact. Yes, I was going to say animal. Yours is somehow even better.
I used to travel with Connery, so I'm kind of used to it.
Yes, but I'm sure he bathes himself.
You would be very shocked.
Well, there goes my supposition about Tabaxi and Leon, and I always assumed that they did what house cats do.
You can always ask him. I'm sure he'd get a really good kick out of that one.
There are some things in life one can only do once, and that is one of those things. When I have no other options left, perhaps I shall inquire.
Just do it when everyone's around. Big crew meeting. Ask him right from the crowd. I'm sure I have a spell, something that I can recreate your voice. It's fine.
Wonderful. I appreciate the thinly veiled threats. I have brought the finest bottle of brandy that I could possibly get from our quartermaster, and dragon chess, if you have ever played.
Is it like regular chess?
It is, in fact.
Great, I hate
with
chess.
Dragons. I have cards.
Cards are much better.
Dice. Okay, cards it is. Do you have a game that you are particularly fond of?
No, not really.
Very well then. And he, without permission, just goes to sit at your your war table, I suppose, that might have like the map on it. It has a couple of chairs around it. He pulls up a chair opposite from where you're standing and just gestures for you to sit down.
This entire time, Scarlett has been in her captain's coat.
Mm-hmm.
Because the hours have kind of been lost to her. She sat down in that chair and didn't move until she heard the knock. So she does take the captain's coat off eventually. It's just because she's reminded by the weight of it. She's like, right, this is not something I want right now. And just drapes it across the chair that she had been sitting at her desk.
I've always wondered why it is that you stay up as late as you do.
Is it really staying up if you never sleep?
There's an existential question.
You're welcome.
Why is it that you don't sleep?
It is the result of the pact that I vowed to? Agreed to?
Interesting. Is it a boon, do you think? Or is it... Or do you get tired? Is it a punishment of sorts? Or is this a good thing that you get to stay up late?
Depends on who you ask and depends on the day, maybe?
I guess I was asking you if you considered a bane or a boon.
Some nights I get to explore more literature that I haven't read yet. Other nights I am the victim of my own thoughts, the victim of my patron. It just depends.
Is a white, imposing entity your patron?
Do you remember that feeling that you had when I showed you my tattoos?
Vividly.
Imagine
Yes,
that
miss.
in the back of your brain every day, all the time, every waking moment. It's harder to get to me when I'm asleep, so I don't sleep.
It's not as hard to imagine as you might think, miss. It has been perhaps not as ever-present as yours, but I carry it with me for certain. I understand why you did it. It took me time to understand, but I do understand why.
I do apologize for that.
And you have apologized before, and I have accepted your apology, and I do not hold it against you. But that is something that I believe is... I carry a mark with me that I likely will never be rid of.
If I could get rid of it, I would. Get rid of it all. The whole thing. But I feel like that would require more skill and power than I have resource to.
I think, if I may speak freely, I think that you severely underestimate yourself.
Maybe. But please, I am not your captain right now, as I do not have a coat on. You can speak as freely as you'd like.
The coat is the symbol, I wondered. You're a siren, yes?
The last time I checked.
I'd never met one. Honestly, sailors had always heard horror stories. Especially this crew. I think it actually helped you gain more respect than you realize early on. Being something that dashed the lives of soldiers against rocks. A cautionary tale brought to life.
All but the fairy tales. Maybe.
Well, I've sailed near the Sea of Eternal Tempest. I've sailed near the Red Rock, and I know the fairy tales.
I've never been to those places you've mentioned. I have only met one or two others like me.
I was curious about that. And since you are not my captain, and I can ask you all the questions that seem to be coming to my mind right now.
Within reason, sure. Could be your funeral, you never know.
Every day could be. Why don't you sing? Or whatever siren. I mean, we perceive it as song. I'm sure it's something more intense than that, but I've never seen you or heard you utilize that ability.
It's not something that I've ever done. I have read stories about sirens, songs, and about their performancing. Doesn't always have to be a song. It can be a dance. It could be musical instruments. It just depends. I have never felt the need to. Yes, I am a siren, but it's not like I was raised by a pod of sirens. I do not know customs. I do not know traditions. I just exist.
It's interesting.
You want to wonder how I grow the tail next?
If you're offering, is it something that you could teach?
Unfortunately, no.
No, I had more questions about your patron, of course, but when you said, and I have to imagine this is a treacherous thought to have, separating from an entity as powerful as that. But I always presumed sirens were beings of intense power on their own. And I don't think I'm wrong. But we'll see. No, I was curious if you knew your patron's name, location, honestly, anything you knew about it. I'm not sure whether it's helpful or not to research one's nightmares, but I figured I might give it a shot.
Especially when you willingly go look for the nightmares. I was looking for a way out from Eula. And there was an old... He wasn't crew. He was a passenger. He had read the name of a creature that even Eula was scared of. And I knew that was my only choice. That was the only way I could get from under her. And I needed to get from under her. You know,
Because of course.
just... It's part of it, sure. She was very much who she wanted people to believe she was. But after 10 years, I had seen the bad, and I was tired of being bad with her. I traded in secrets, I traded in souls, traded in death. I didn't want to do that anymore. But there's no telling her that you're leaving. There's no just leaving Eula Saltzmile, or at least there wasn't. There was either you grin and bear it, or you die. You cross her, you die. You even whisper about leaving the Fen without her permission, and you die. And I know this because I did it. So the only way out from under her was something more powerful than her. I literally sold my soul to some great or evil. I just didn't know it at the time. I was desperate.
So say you can find your way out from the... God, I hope this thing doesn't have thumbs. But the thumb of your new patron, what would life look like for Scarlet Shores? Where would you go? What would you do?
I can tell you it definitely doesn't have thumbs. But you definitely don't want to be underneath it. I don't know. I have never had a home. The Fen was the closest thing I had. These are the first friends that I have had. These are the first real connections that I've allowed myself to make since Corvus. At this point, I live for them. I live to figure out these shards. I live to figure out how to go on after this whirlwind of a life that I inherently chose for myself. Tried to remake the name Scarlet Shores into not a name that is associated with fear. It works great for intimidation in certain aspects, but it's not what I want.
Seems to work well for being a pirate captain as well.
If I rule with fear, though, I'm basically being Eula.
He reaches across the table and puts a hand on top of yours and just kind of looks directly at you. You have, since the second day that you were aboard this ship, never ruled with fear, but out of respect. And I need you to know that despite what doubts that you might have in your mind, the Bloodhound will always be a home should you want it. You are its captain. You earned that title. And the crew respects you, as do I. I can assure you of that. He pulls back his hand and starts shuffling the deck of cards that he has in front of him.
I never wanted to be captain. I almost gave the opportunity to Proximus. I feel like he just didn't have enough experience with the surface life, I guess. He has only been on the surface for a year. He's getting there. He is learning very quickly, but
he's learning the hard way.
Could you have been Proximus's first mate?
Yes. I could. I served as the first mate to Brindle Kane. I could have been first mate to a wild tiger at that point, and it would have been a step up.
You can always go be the first mate on the Redemption. Close enough.
I think Proximus is doing a fine job over there, and he's at least asking the questions that need to be asked. He's learning. He's trying. But no, I am in service, miss, as always, to this ship and its crew before I am in service to you. Or perhaps in equal measure in service to you.
Please, if I make a terrible decision, please tell me. I promise I won't cut your tongue out. Though I have done that before.
I'll remind you of that promise then. I promise that I will always give you the best counsel that I have. Whether you listen to it or not, I will at least give it to you.
I do listen to my friends.
Oh, we're friends.
Are we not? Do friends not sit and play games and drink together? Is that not what the friends do? Is this strictly business? I did take off my coat.
Yeah, the coat is absolutely off. You are correct.
You can take yours off too. You know, relax a little. I know it's very hard for you to do, but if I'm doing it, you can do it. Anyone can do it. Maybe not Connery. That might have been a push.
He just laughs slightly, slides the coat out from behind him. It's a leather coat that has, again, bits of armor to it. It has a weight to it.
That thing is heavy. You go in the ocean with that sucker, you are sinking.
Oh, that's the first thing you get rid of as soon as you go in the water, for sure. I mean, it's the equivalent of studded leather armor. Like, you could swim in it. It is not aerodynamic for sure.
It is not practical.
Yeah.
You're getting a lot of drag.
Yeah. So he slumps that off. He has, kind of a simple vest on beneath, the sailor's whites, kind of tunic that he has his sleeves rolled up. You are actually correct. It is a rather warm night, despite the breeze. It's all right
You're
then.
always a little warm. Is that not a thing?
I feel like it might be relative. I I am I am objectively warm to everyone, but subjectively it's just normal for me.
I had to ask.
But everyone's a traditional 98 point something. I sit right around 120-ish.
I wouldn't know I'm cold-blooded.
Oh.
Forget that I'm half fish.
Hmm. Hmm. I was wondering about that too with your friend Acacia, the half horse.
I don't know about half mammals. I just know about aquatic life.
Fair, yes.
If you have any questions, please direct them directly to her. Though she might actually take your tongue.
I am not studying any bit of that anatomy anytime soon. I know you didn't want to be kept.
No.
Is that still the case? It's been weeks. You've been doing a great job. Like I said, the crew respect you in earnest.
Well, it is not something that I would have chosen for myself. It feels like the most right thing that I've gone so far in my life. I don't want to say that I was born for this because that's what I was not. But it at least feels the most home that I have felt in a very long time.
I like having you, personally.
Because of my good jokes and humor, isn't it? Or because I keep the ship stocked with alcohol.
Something along those lines. I respect your inherent leadership. I respect the way that you command intelligently. I respect the I respect the I don't know how to say it. People seem to listen to you. You have an air about you that is commanding and admirable. Appealing.
I think that's the siren part.
Well, I don't see you doing kick flips or anything, so I don't know what you're doing siren like.
No, all those tricks are strictly saved for the bedroom.
His eyes do dart behind you to where the bed is. Well, if you ever have any questions about what to do, the ship, its crew, I am a font of knowledge, I assure you.
I think the only priority right now is finding the Corin's a place to go.
Have you thought about after that?
We are following something literally out of this world. I don't think I told you, the story about how we defeated Eula. But for a very brief moment in time, we were as powerful as gods. And then it was gone. We tasted this power and then it was ripped from us. We spent it all to fight Eula, all to get rid of her, to wipe her existence off the map. Literally. You can't find the Fen anymore because it doesn't exist. It wasn't a one-time deal, apparently. Apparently there is more. Apparently there are things much bigger than any of us could have ever imagined. And for some reason, I speak its language. And I never could speak it or read it beforehand. And I don't know if it's going to go away if I ever do leave my patron or not. I don't know if it's a temporary fleeting thing. But that's terrifying. The amount of power one person can have from a singular shard. I would prefer no one be able to do that ever again.
Of course. So, a treasure hunt, then, it sounds like.
Sounds like I'm going back to my pirate ways.
Well, just a hint from someone who's been on treasure hunts before. There's very rarely an X on any maps.
There wasn't the first time, but we had a different sort of compass helping us out. Maybe we can get it working again. That's what Winnie and Acacia have been focused on. Besides Acacia focusing on getting the Corins to a place safe.
Certainly.
So.
No?
That's what's after.
Well, as long as you keep paying the crew, I assure you they will be more than happy to serve aboard this ship on your search for godhood, it sounds like.
No way to prevent it.
A prevention of godhood.
We might have to do some actual pirating to be able to pay the crew eventually, but we should be okay for the time being.
Well, they do have quite a bit of practice with that. I assure you we were much more successful before we attacked your particular ship.
When in doubt, we can just turn ourselves in and collect our own bounty. That's what I did before.
Oh, right. I would very much rather not attempt to collect my bounty.
It's easy. You just get rid of the warden by, Eldritch blasting him out of a window. It's pretty simple.
Sure. Except you've taken out one of the main prisons, and the other ones are less accommodating to escape, I would say.
That's what you think.
I can't breathe underwater like you.
We can fix that. We helped Acacia.
And the other prisons are deep in the heart of the Empire.
The last time the Empire saw me, we got rid of them all. That was a long story. That was fun. I believe the last time they really encountered me, I did have different colored hair, so they might not even recognize me.
What color was your hair?
Oh, well, it was, like a... It wasn't quite red.
Are you named after your hair color?
No.
Should you be violet now?
Does my hair look purple to you?
Bluish.
Might be colorblind, Marcus.
At least in dark light I am. Rules is written.
No, my name is from the color of the shores that I would make it in the name Viola. It is a name I gave myself when I ended up on the fen. I wanted to sound scarier than I was, but I eventually lived up to it.
It is a scary name.
It's something, all right.
There's one thing I learned. Names don't mean everything at the end of the day, and they can change easily. Even the name on the aft of this ship can be easily changed by a carpenter. And the Bloodhound long since left its true name behind when its first captain was murdered.
What was the true name?
It was originally the Bloodhound.
Oh, so
yes,
Kane didn't rename it.
Kane assumed it meant him, since he was a canine shifter. He assumed that he was the Bloodhound, that he was a hound covered in blood and all sorts of things like that. He was not
so
imaginative.
He thought very highly of himself, got it.
I'm not sure he could think in any other direction.
Mm-hmm.
Kane was an unimaginative, brutal idiot. But he knew how to draw blood, and he knew how to kill a lot of people in a short period of time. And sometimes when it comes to piracy, that is enough. It just doesn't... Again, a hint. The best pirates are the ones that leave people behind, alive. That's how you gain a story. That's how you gain a reputation. Limit the brutality, everything in moderation. Let the story carry. Actions in piracy do not speak louder than words. And King did not realize that. Captain Cross realized that. Captain Cross was a man of honor. Captain Cross was a respected pirate. There were ships that, when they spotted our sails during Captain Yaxley Cross's reign, would drop anchor and wait for us to board, because they knew that they would be treated with dignity, and they knew that whatever they were carrying was probably insured, and they would make more money off of the loss than the gain. When they spotted our sails after Riddle King took command, the ships would flee. And
or at
rightly
least tried to.
At least they tried to. Fortunately for them, our ship is not the swiftest.
No, it's not.
No, it is not. It's not meant to be. But she's reliable. No, she gained the name the Bloodhound because Captain Cross had always identified as a hunter of sorts. And great hunters are ones that respect their prey. And he always looked to the constellation, the Hounds of Tor, as a sort of guiding compass of sorts. And even the stained glass window over there represents that constellation, the Hounds of Tor. Hence the Bloodhound. You're welcome to rename it. Its name has been thoroughly tarnished, and it doesn't hold the connotation it used to. And it is your ship, after all. You can do whatever you like with it.
Would you rename it if you had the chance?
I don't know. Maybe. Not sure what I would call it.
I don't know if you know the original name of the Redemption. But we renamed it after Eula was gone. After its previous captain was finally set free. Its original name was the Innocents.
Honor. Right. Callisto. Mm-hmm. Captain Callisto Everhart. Of course. It looks much better than I ever heard in stories. Fortunately, I never encountered it on the seas. I always heard it was haunted.
That would be correct. It's no longer haunted. These souls were essentially laid to rest after Eula's Hold on them was released. But I can tell you, the sounds that those sails could make is something I will never forget. They wailed with the sound of broken souls. And you can only imagine how bad that sounds. How much it could chill you to the bone. Even you.
For certain. I have fortunately never heard that. It's funny how memories can be like scars, and always there to show off when we need them.
So what game are we playing? You do a lot of talking, not a lot of actual card playing.
Different forms of entertainment. There's simple three-dragon ante. There's different types of poker we could play, or even simple war, if you wanted.
I feel like we've seen too much war. I'd prefer not to play it in a card game. It's never actually simple.
Well, Captain, are you willing to put down stakes then? Would you like to bring money into this?
Money?
Would you?
No.
Well, what would you like to bet then?
She thinks for a minute. I used to trade in secrets, but I feel like that is an old gimmick. Something I don't really have much use for anymore. Plus, I feel like if I asked you, you would probably tell me anyway.
Well, if that's the currency we're using, I suppose I would have to.
No. She's got this wicked grin on her face. Let's play something a little risky.
All right.
Let's bet clothing.
And now I see why I had to lose the jacket.
Only fair to start off the same.
I think that's where we're going to cut to black. And I think that's a great time for our break as well. So stick around, folks. Again, this is not live, but we're going to treat this just like any of the streams. So stick around. We'll do a little ad break. Kaila and I will be back shortly to pick up more with this Scarlett character development episode. We appreciate you being here for it. So we'll be back. Do the things. Vast, and welcome back to Horizons Call, everybody. Thank you for joining us for this very special episode, this character development episode of the one and only Scarlett Shores. I'm joined, of course, by the one and only Kaila Castleberry. As always, I should say this is a pre-recorded episode. This is not a live episode, but you can always support this cast, this crew, this show specifically. If you do, it is very much appreciated, and you can typically impact the game for this game for games that are pre-recorded, like this one and our next one with Mare featuring Keisha. It will not impact the game that you donate live, because that's, again, not how time works, but it will just be paid forward to the next episode that will be live. So I assure you, if you donate in Scarlet episode, I will absolutely make sure that it affects a Scarlet in real life. The same way, to be fair, if you donate, let's say, a black spot or a crit or anything, it will go towards for Acacia. it will go to Acacia for the next episode that she's in. Awesome. Let's go ahead and jump back in. So that first night, heading towards the city of Full Limaril with these, refugees in tow, all this stress, all this weight on Scarlett's shoulders, to have this night with your first mate. You tell me. I'm assuming it leads to more after that.
They're adults.
They're adults. Yeah. Well, I don't just mean more that evening. I'm wondering if this is the start of an attachment for Scarlett.
Oh, for sure. And
Okay.
she is terrified. Like there's no regret. But there is the oh shit. Here we go again. Isn't that TikTok sound? Oh shit, here we go again.
Who's there at the door? Feelings? Ah! Not you again.
Emotional damage. Hopefully not this time. If there's no black spots donated, it's fine. Looking at you, Mitch.
You made me promise that I wouldn't kill off Marcus just yet.
I did, but see, yet.
Only when it hurts the most. And you aren't alone in that attachment. It's something that we as sentient beings can't really help. Is creating those bonds, those strings of fate that connect us all together. They aren't willingly formed, and we can't willingly cut them off. They sometimes always exist on their own. And sometimes those strings grow taut and pull us closer together, willingly or not. And you and Marcus find that string between you pulled taut. He is, if nothing else, a consummate professional during the day. When you are wearing your captain's coat, it is, yes ma'am, of course miss. It will be done as you wish. All of the things a first mate should say. When the coats come off, I think that might be your symbol for each other. And at first, it's a few nights before he knocks on your cabin door again. And you're not really sure those first couple of nights. Is he going to come back? Is that a mistake? Does he feel the same things that I feel? And then that knock comes again. Pre-shuffled deck of cards, his jacket in his arm. There are many nights that you have him staying up as late as his cinder eyes will stay open, listening as intently as he can. Gently inquiring about your history, about where you came from, about who you are, about who you really are. Not what your doubt tells you that you are, not what other people perceive you as, not what the world has said that, Scarlett, this is what you must be, but perhaps a person that you didn't really realize was there. And you feel that warmth against your cold-blooded skin. And you realize that fire and water sometimes do mix. He respects your command. He respects your autonomy. He does not overstep coats on or off. And the days go by, the weeks go by. You reach Full Limaril. You tell him to stay behind in order that you can tell what's a small, little tiny crack in his heart. One that is quickly mended by his duty. And when you send for him to come to the island of Undertow, you've defeated a Hydra, you've created a home, a new home for refugees. You have gotten to the point where you told him that the next step of your adventure will begin this treasure hunt. We're at the point now. Rollin has basically told all of you, this is what I'm going to ask of all of you. I want you to find these rings. Whether you all have decided to help him or not, you at least have been informed Marcus has been along for that ride. That night, where does Scarlett sleep? Does she grab a tent on the island? Does she go back to the Redemption? Does she go to the Bloodhound? Where does she go for that evening? Does she walk around the island?
Seeing as the island is not a place where she feels at ease, and the Redemption almost feels like a ghost to her at this point,
Sure.
would go back to the Bloodhound.
And Marcus grabs a rowboat, rows you along, knowing full well that you could absolutely swim. But it's that moment that you two have alone. And the waves are soft as they just rock against the rowboat. In this clear night with these stars above. And again, he gives off just this soft light in this long stretch of darkness between the shore and your ship, this no man's land, where you two can be perhaps who you want to be. And he slows the rowing for a moment and leans forward and says, "You know, I really missed you."
Those are dangerous words.
He looks down at your jacket and his... Is it so wrong for a first mate to miss his captain?
I guess not.
Wouldn't want you to cut up my tongue or anything.
Haven't done that in so long. What a shame.
Promise.
I did. It'd be an unfortunate loss for me, to be honest.
You do seem to make good use of it.
I try.
He continues rowing. It does seem like you had a beneficial visit to the island. Seems like things seem to be going your way.
Don't know how I would define my way, but the Corans have a place to go. They're going to have shelters and everything that they need built. But we have I would love to call him a stowaway, but this is not. He has just invited himself into the crew. He's not even going to be in the crew. He's just a passenger. Another mouth to feed, another mouth to manage. Oh, I wish I could manage his mouth. He never seems to shut up.
Would you like me to kill him?
No, he's Ronnie's brother, and I feel like he is somewhat useful. He knows about the Elder Shards. He speaks Elder. He can understand when I speak it. Even if I'm telling him to fuck off.
Sometimes that's an important translation to make.
feel like there's more emphasis when it's spoken in Elder because you really have to think about it.
I've rarely trusted wizards in my life. They seem to always have something else going on.
They really only look out for themselves.
It sure seems like it.
He's just someone to keep an eye on. While I trust Winnie to keep her brother in line, I feel like he is a bit much.
Mm-hmm.
He might end up on our ship. If not, the occasion might throw him overboard. Granted, sea elf, but
Yes.
I don't think he's like Winnie and is friends with every shark in the sea. So.
No, it seems like he has a bit of trouble with his friends. But I don't think we have anything to worry about.
For now,
I won't let anything happen to you.
I can take care of myself.
I know you can. It's just I don't think you should always have to.
Yeah, it really sucks rubbing your own feet every now and then.
Yes, especially when they turn into fins. I can't even imagine.
That only happened one time.
Let's get you back to your home. The ship has missed you as well. Be nice to have you back aboard.
Yeah, it'll be nice to actually not feel like I have to put on a presentation. At least behind my closed door, anyway. Let down the walls a little bit. Actually relax. Take off the coat.
He continues rowing, and you make it back to the Bloodhound. Both of you climbing aboard. There are a few crew members who nod to you, respectfully welcome you back to the ship. Again, it's the night crew. Marcus steps aside as you go back to your quarters. He knows better than to walk through the door at the same time as you. Chats with the crew, makes sure things are shipshape. And a short time later, joins you. Does he knock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Still respectful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just kick the door down, barge in.
I'm just saying there's a certain point in everybody's relationship where you walk into the bathroom and your partner is, doing their thing and you need to use the shower. It's a comfortability. I'm just trying to see if we're there yet. He knocks.
Not on the ship with other people, no.
Yeah. He has always brought the deck of cards, though I have to imagine they are played less and less. And that's not to say that, I'm going to say activities and not mean it the way that you think, are had. Marcus is an avid reader, and from time to time likes to bring some of his favorite novels, sailing novels more often than not, novels of adventure, and in a world of fantasy, sometimes, fiction and reality tend to be equally interesting. And so there's a blending of sorts. It's how the book is written. I think that is more interesting. And he reads of dragons and far-off islands and ancient places that once stood high above mountainous areas full of trees and peoples that once walked Damaris. And eventually, every evening, he is but mortal and does not have the eldritch abilities that you do. And eventually that book lies open on his chest, his eyes closed, the light he gives off somewhat dimmed as he falls asleep. those evenings when he does stay with you, what do you do in those hours where he's asleep?
Read ahead.
Rule.
Read ahead so I know the story before he can read it. So I can concentrate more on being there instead of being lost in the story.
So on this evening in particular, when he is visited and he is reading one of the voyage entries from some of the first adventurers to the island of Terraconis, the home of dragons, and is explaining all of the different types of dragons and dragonborn and drakes and wyverns and all the variety of dragon type beings that all seem to congregate and exist in this strange alien island. And he inevitably falls asleep. And you pick up the book from his hands, gently not waking him, and flip forward. It's been a while since that pressure in the back of your head has pushed forward. And you feel that again, that like something writhing in your frontal cortex, writhing towards your frontal cortex, that pressure. And you look around as the room begins to shift and change, and that black, inkish, like goo, sludge, water, whatever it is,
Oil and water.
Begins to seep upwards and seems to fill the room. You look over to Marcus, who is no longer there. And you can even feel the warmth dissipating from the place where his body was on the bed, the imprint still left there as this room is filled more and more. And as it is, the furniture begins to float, the books begin to float, and as it hits the ceiling of your captain's quarters, the room is gone, the bed is gone, and you find yourself in that inevitable place, deep in some unknown part of the ocean, where your patron seems to reside, and where when it calls to you, you answer. And in that darkness, the writhing all around you. And the water is crushing. You find yourself, it's difficult to move, it's difficult to speak, it's difficult to breathe, even for someone who breathes underwater. And from that crushing depth, the voice of your patron, its name still as of yet unknown to you, just reverberates out like a soft shockwave. Well, you've been busy.
I'm the captain of a ship. Of course I am busy.
Scarlett, I appreciate everything that you have done in my service. You've been a very good servant. I appreciate you listening to me, especially when it came to that scene of
What do you want from him?
he is immaterial. It is what he knows that is important to me. And so because of that, he is important. I've been unable to find a way to source what he knows out of him. What he is doing is important to my ultimate goal. You need no more than that. Help him, aid him, do as he asks. See that he remains alive.
Be a glorified babysitter?
He requires very little sitting. He is far more powerful than you. But because of that, he must remain where he is, and he knows that. Do as he asks, and I will let you know when his usefulness is up.
Then what?
Then perhaps you will become more useful. I care for those in my service, Scarlett. I am hoping to make so many incredible things. And you will get to see all of them.
I have a feeling for you to create, you must destroy.
Create anything one must destroy. It is not an evil thing. To create a sword, one must destroy a block of iron and forge it anew.
That's really destroying. That's more so making anew.
Exactly. For one to build a city, they must destroy a forest for its lumber.
The
Destroy
difference
a
there.
mountain for its stone.
Forest can be replanted. That's the difference between good and bad.
You, Scarlet Shores, are not one to speak of good and bad. I can see still on you the blood covering you and your hands. You think because you leave something behind, it isn't still there, but I assure you, you are not a different person. You remain Scarlet Shores. And besides, I ask very little of you. And I do so much for you. The power that you possess, the magic that you enact in the world, the friends that you have set aside, still marked by me. Those that you seek to protect. However pointlessly that might be. Regardless, I appreciate the idea that you are making a little tavern a beautiful source for me and future meals that I might have.
That's off limits. I will find you meals other places. Even if I have to sail days to find it. That is a safe haven. It is not a picnic for you to pick upon, to feast upon.
Shall we go over all of the protected people that you have so far? 2 entire ships worth, now a city, your friends, this new individual. Deny me further, and I will ask for one of them. I will ask for whoever I deem closest, and you will give them to me. deny me again. I give you this haven. I give you your ships. I give you your friends and your lover. But deny me one more time, Scarlett Shores. And you will regret it. Remember that your power comes from me. Remember that you are nothing without me, that you are nothing before me, which is why you came to me. You knew what you were doing. You read that forbidden book. You read my forbidden name. And now you act like you can stand tall on your own, little girl. The new world will not accept weakness, and neither will I. Am I understood?
She'll just give a short nod.
You have no options, Scarlett. I don't mean to pretend like you do. And I'm sorry if I ever gave that impression. You belong to me. You made that choice, and you will live with it forever. Serve me well, and I will ensure that your existence is a pleasant one. Fail to serve me, and you will suffer forever. That is what I offer. Nothing more, nothing less. I require 5 souls within a week. Mark them.
Fine.
I will contact you soon. Be good. And with that, the water begins to recede, the blackness recedes, the pressure seems to relieve around you, and the lantern light in your captain's quarters is illuminated once again. Marcus, when you turn to look, is just as he was. The book still resting in his chest, as if you'd never picked it up at all. What's going through your head?
Underlying panic, self-doubt, the conversations that Scarlett's had with Marcus about, Siren's own power, not needing to rely on this outsource, just completely muddled and diminished. The reminder of, I am nothing without someone over me. And the fear and all of the feelings of what happened to Corvus are all rearing up in the back of my head.
And as you feel that pressure there's something that's also growing in your chest, your diaphragm, your lungs. This warmth, this pressure, this energy. It's building. And you feel like it's about to explode out of you. Do you stay in the captain's quarters?
No. We'll hastily change out of the nightgown? Sure. Scarlett wears a nightgown. into usual captain's clothes with her coat and goes out onto the main deck to the front of the ship. Putting distance.
In your captain's coat, barely anyone else aboard. You even look back, and whoever would typically be at the helm, you're docked. There's no crew that needs to man the ship right now. It is empty, except for you. Everyone else has gone to sleep. And you can see far off in the distance, far off to the west, are storm clouds brewing, and you watch as lightning traces its way through those dark, heavy clouds, and you go to the prow of the ship as that energy is building more and more like lightning itself within you, and you open your mouth, and for the first time in your life, your siren song comes out. And without meaning to, or not, perhaps this was intentional, you call out to the storm. And as you do, when your song shifts to highs and lows, it's like the lightning itself is dancing in tempo. And in a moment, it's gone. And it echoes outwards towards the west, like being carried on wings. And then it's just silent, aside from the sound of the ship creaking softly in the surf. The energy's gone. It's relief. You head back to your captain's quarters?
No.
Where do you go, if anywhere?
I stay at the front of the ship.
Minutes turn into possibly hours. You're not really sure. It's hard to tell when the stars move so slowly across the sky, but sometime later, you hear the planks squeaking behind you. And Marcus comes up to the prow of the ship. Captain, is everything all right?
Fine, all right.
That doesn't know.
That doesn't know.
He slides his coat over your shoulders, and you feel that weight kind of come down.
It's like a weighted blanket.
Mm-hmm. It's like a weighted armored blanket. You're right. Come at me, Snuggie. Let's make some Kevlar blankets. And he sits next to you. He gets as close next to you as he can, even if it's just kind of like, being behind you, depending on how far out on the prow you are. Is there anything you wanted to talk about?
Unfortunately, this is my burden to carry. And I do not want to involve you.
Is that all right with you if I stay here all the same?
Of course.
And he does. And those stars move so ever slowly above the two of you. And however weary he might be, his eyes, they don't close for long for the rest of that night. And he stays with you as the thoughts and worries swirl in your mind. That's where we're going to end. Is there anything else you wanted for this?
Nope.
Okay. Well, then that actually sets us up real nice to almost pick right back up from when we come back.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Hope everybody else watches this one.
Oh, they will. I'll write up a recap. I will do.
Oh no, don't worry. I'll tell them one thing and they'll all watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure. Thank you to all of you who are watching this. It's very much appreciated. Again, I am Derek. I have been your GM for this session, for all the sessions of Horizons Call. I love doing these one-on-ones. I love spending this time with my players, my friends, and chatting about their characters and making their characters just all sorts of fleshed out. Let's get some nice music going. Again, this is not a live broadcast of any sorts, but it is always appreciated if you do choose to support this cast, this crew through our Pally. Whatever you decide to donate can impact a game, and for the non-live broadcast, it just gets paid for to the next live broadcast. So it's very much appreciated regardless. Our next episode will also be pre-recorded. That is the one I'm doing with Mare for her character Acacia. Outro stuff, I guess, because we're going to do that. I'm going to have the lovely Kaila say a little bit about herself, where you can find more of her, and then do some stuff for myself, and then we'll get out of here. So
Kaila, let everyone go back to their Saturday.
Get back to your Saturdays and just think about
all those feelings.
Sex. Yeah, have all those feelings. Kaila, where can people find more of your lovely self?
Hi, hello, I'm Kaila. I'm many faces in many places in the TTRPG realm, as well as streaming on my own channel. I play a variety of video games, as well as paint is my main game. I paint a variety of different fantasy models, D&D minis. This newest one is not D&D fantasy at all. It's more cyberpunky. It's been a good challenge. But yeah, you can follow my Twitter at KMC_ to follow along with all of my hobbies, antics, shit posting. You know.
Yes, absolutely. The shit posting is high quality.
There's gonna be a lot of shit posting on Saturday when this airs, so follow along. There might be a thread, a live following thread.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's just gifs of Derek's face with all of them, all the different reactions.
All I've ever wanted was to search my name and have gifs pop up. That's my dream. That's how I know I've made it. Yes, thank you, Kaila. Again, my name is Derek Sword. If you want to follow me anywhere, the best place is still, unfortunately, Twitter at dsword16. I highly recommend you follow Sword and Key. You can actually find, actually, I'm going to say this, the best place, beacons.ai/Sword and Key. I should have actually looked it up before I said it so confidently. You can find Sword and Key on Twitter, beacons.ai/Sword and Key, no underscores. You can find all of our links there, including places where you can donate to support different casts. So that is the best place. We do have a Twitter. It's at Sword and Key with underscores between the 3 words. We have an Instagram, which we're using more now. We got all this stuff, except for, no, we do have a Hive. We're trying to get on Blue Sky, so you got an invite. Hit me up. So that's where you can find all of our stuff. You can also join our Discord through that Beacons link. And if you do, you can actually see a calendar of all of our stuff. You can chat about all this stuff. You can talk about the logistics of a Fire Genasi and a Siren and how that all works out. But to give you some stuff that's coming up soon, Monster Crush, I should mention, is a podcast that I do. It is part of the Sword and Key Network. An episode just came out, I guess, the weekend before when this is going to release. So it came out on the 2nd. It's actually a 2-year-old episode that we just found in our vault. So enjoy that nostalgia. Let's see, this morning, in case you missed it, and that is, I'm speaking in real time. I'm speaking in future time. So this morning, the 8th, when this is going to release, there was a Sword and Tea with game creator Jason Cordova that Eva and Anik did. So you can definitely check that out on our YouTube, or also just on Twitch and the stuff that's already come out. Tomorrow is the 9th, is the first episode of Vast Grim, which is a game that is being GM'd by Anik. Heavy content warning, because it's about like space worms that get into your brains. It's super violent. I'm actually going to be in that. So that is 10 a.m. Pacific time, and that is for the next 4 Sundays. So it is actually a 4-session mini campaign sort of deal. Horizon's Call will be back with the Acacia character development episode on the 15th. Again, same wonderful time, 3 p.m. Pacific. We have Winnie's, which is on the 22nd. And Brittlewood Bay will be back at 2:30 p.m. on the 16th. So that is on Sunday. I believe that is all the big Sword and Key stuff. So, again, any support you can give us is absolutely appreciated. Retweeting, all that kind of stuff, it's super great. Even on the Hell site that is Twitter, retweeting is super appreciated. Hope you
Sharing
enjoy
with
this.
your friends.
All that kind of stuff. Yeah, tell your friends, tell your mom.
You can gossip about what happens on a ship after hours.
That's what we got a Discord for. Why are we doing this voice?
Come ask us questions. Come ask for character playlists. Come ask.
Yeah, we have them. Yeah, yeah. I have a playlist of all sea shanties. It's highly
Scarlett's
curated.
playlist is so good.
It's very good.
I wish I could play it for you on stream, but I can't because of DMCA. But I can share it with you.
Yeah. Come join us on Discord. Again, a very special thank you to Kaila. I literally could not have done this without you.
I could have done it without you.
To all my players, the prompt I gave them was, let's talk more about your characters. What would you like? You lead me. And they all gave me absolutely fantastic ideas, and Kaila is such a phenomenal, thoughtful player. This has been a very special time, so it's wonderful to have this. I think that's where we're going to leave it off for tonight. So thank you all for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next weekend for The Nature of Acacia. And until that time, fair winds and following seas, brave mariners.
Go play strip poker with your best friend.
Wow, okay.